What happens when a late-night comedy interview suddenly turns into a political battlefield? This wasn't just another celebrity chat on Conan O'Brien's stage. It was a full-blown showdown that had the audience gasping, the cameras rolling, and Donald Trump storming out in fury. The tension was electric from the very first moment, and what followed became one of the most explosive late-night interviews in history. But here's the twist. This clash wasn't about telling jokes or sharing funny stories. It was about power, ego, and a battle of words that spiraled completely out of control. And as you'll see, each exchange pushed things closer to chaos until Trump finally snapped. So stay tuned, because by the end of this breakdown, you'll see why this interview is still being talked about and why it may go down as one of Trump's most unforgettable walk-offs. From the very start, Trump wasted no time taking a jab. He leaned back in his chair, smirked at Conan, and threw out a line about how O'Brien's show wasn't exactly #1 in the ratings. The audience half laughed, half groaned. It was the kind of remark that instantly put everyone on edge. Conan, though, didn't flinch. He shot back with a smile that cut deep. Well, at least my approval ratings aren't in the 30s. The crowd erupted. Cheers, applause, even a few gasps. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted from lighthearted banter to open combat. Trump, visibly irritated, waved it off as fake news, insisting the polls were rigged, the media was dishonest, and the so-called low approval numbers were nothing more than a smear campaign. But the audience could feel it. This wasn't a comedy bit anymore. It was a duel, and neither man was backing down. After the ratings sparring match, Conan wasn't about to let things cool down. He leaned forward, eyebrow raised, and went straight for the jugular. Let's talk about your businesses. Trump University, for example. The audience immediately perked up. Some laughed, some gasped, knowing exactly where this was heading. Conan laid it out bluntly. Lawsuits, angry former students, and accusations that the entire venture was nothing more than a scam. It was the kind of moment late-night television rarely sees. Not jokes, not fluff, but confrontation. Trump fired back instantly, his voice sharp. Trump University was a smart business deal. The media twisted it like they always do. People loved it. People learned a lot. The only failures were the losers who didn't try. The crowd reacted with a mix of boos and scattered applause. The split was clear. Some were with him, others against, and the tension kept building. But Conan didn't let him off the hook. He pressed harder, reminding Trump about the multi-million-dollar settlement and how thousands claimed they were misled. The studio grew louder, almost chaotic, as Trump waved his hands, insisting the lawsuits were just political theater and a witch hunt designed to destroy him. And in that heated back and forth, the line between entertainment and raw political drama disappeared. This wasn't an interview anymore. It was a courtroom cross-examination, happening live under the spotlight. The moment Conan brought up Trump's bankruptcies, the energy in the room changed instantly. No more jokes, no more back and forth. This was personal. Conan didn't sugarcoat it. He laid out the facts in front of the audience. Multiple bankruptcies, unpaid contractors, and a long trail of businesses that had collapsed under Trump's name. "Is that what you call smart business?" Conan asked, his voice sharp and deliberate. "That's called using the system. Only a fool doesn't take advantage of the laws. I built an empire while people like you sat behind a desk telling jokes." The crowd roared, half in shock, half in laughter. But Conan wasn't laughing. He fired back, calling out how those same laws left small business owners bankrupt and workers unpaid, while Trump walked away untouched. And at that moment, Trump's temper visibly snapped. He stood up from his chair, towering over the set, and pointed his finger at Conan. The audience gasped, cell phones flying up into the air to capture every second. Conan rose to meet him, refusing to sit back down, and suddenly the two men were face to face under the studio lights. The producer rushed onto the stage, waving his arms, trying to calm things down, but the crowd was already split in chaos, some chanting, booing, others just stunned that this was actually happening live. It no longer felt like a talk show. It felt like a showdown. And the tension was so thick you could almost hear hearts pounding in the studio. With both men standing and the audience buzzing, Conan made his next move. He shifted the spotlight away from failed ventures and locked it directly on Trump's years in the White House. You call yourself a great president, so let's talk about what you actually left behind. Trump didn't hesitate. He rattled off his highlights like a well-rehearsed list. Record stock market gains, a strong military, tax cuts, and conservative judges on the Supreme Court. The audience gave a mixed reaction, a few claps, plenty of groans. But Conan was ready. He cut through the noise with numbers. Those tax cuts, the Congressional Budget Office said they ballooned the deficit by nearly $2 trillion. That strong economy, the wealth gap exploded. Most Americans saw no real change while billionaires got richer. The words stung and Trump's expression hardened. He leaned forward, his voice rising and defiant. That's called using the system. Only a fool doesn't take advantage of the laws. I built an empire while people like you sat behind a desk telling jokes. The crowd roared, half in shock, others applauding. In that moment, the tension between both men had reached an all-time high. And then, Conan went there. He looked Trump dead in the eye and said the words the entire audience had been waiting for. January 6th. Do you still stand by the lies you told that day? The studio fell into stunned silence. No laughter, no heckling, just raw tension. Trump stiffened, his face turning red. I told people to be peaceful. Everybody knows that. I told them to respect law and order. Conan didn't flinch. He pressed harder. You told them to march to the Capitol. You told them the election was stolen. And when they stormed the building, when people died, you were silent. Do you still call that leadership? The crowd erupted in chaos. Some cheered Conan's bluntness, others booed loudly, chanting Trump's name in defiance. Trump's voice rose about the noise. That's another fake narrative. The media twists everything. I didn't cause that. The people were angry because the election was rigged. Everybody knows it. Conan didn't let up. He fired back. No court agreed with you. Not one shred of evidence proved it. So what's the truth, Mr. Trump? That the system failed you, or that you failed the system? The studio went wild. Cell phones lit up the room as the confrontation spiraled into a moment nobody watching would ever forget. Trump's jaw tightened. His hands gripped the desk. For a second, it looked like he might walk out right then. That final exchange was the breaking point. Trump's face hardened, his voice booming over the audience. This is a setup. This is an ambush. You're nothing but another hack, Conan. The room erupted, gasps, cheers, boos, a storm of noise crashing all at once. And then, in one sharp motion, Trump ripped the microphone from his jacket, the static crackling through the speakers. Conan didn't move. He just leaned back and fired one last shot. Run away, Donald. That's what you do best. The crowd exploded. Half the audience shot to their feet cheering, the other half shouting in outrage. Trump glared, tossed the mic onto the desk, and stormed off the stage, his footsteps echoing louder than the applause. As the cameras scrambled to follow him, catching the chaos of Secret Service and staff rushing behind, it wasn't just a guest leaving a show, it felt like a political earthquake unfolding live. On stage, Conan stood calm, almost smirking, as the audience roared around him. For a moment, the late-night set looked less like a comedy show and more like a battlefield. As the studio struggled to settle down, Conan stayed planted behind his desk. He looked out at the audience, half still cheering, half stunned, and finally spoke. You know, he said slowly, his voice cutting through the noise, this show was built on comedy, on laughter. But sometimes when you're sitting across from someone in power, you don't laugh. You challenge.
The crowd erupted in applause, phones still recording, people nodding, others standing on their feet. Conan continued, "If asking hard questions makes someone storm off, maybe that tells you all you need to know. Power doesn't get to hide when the spotlight is on." His words carried weight. It wasn't a punchline, it was a statement. And in that moment, the entire room shifted from chaos to something almost electric, as if everyone realized they had just witnessed a piece of late-night history. The audience broke into thunderous applause, and Conan signed off with a calm smile, leaving viewers with a final thought. Sometimes, the truth isn't comfortable, but it's always worth the fight. And that was it. A late-night interview that spiraled into one of the most explosive confrontations ever seen on television. What began as a comedy bit turned into a heated clash over ratings, business failures, the presidency, and finally, January 6th. A showdown so intense, it ended with Donald Trump storming off the stage. But here's the question that lingers. Was Conan O'Brien right to push Trump until he snapped? Or did he cross a line by turning a talk show into a public trial? What's certain is this. That night blurred the line between entertainment and politics, leaving an audience stunned and a moment that's still being talked about to this day. So, what do you think? Was this Conan's boldest moment, or Trump's biggest misstep? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is one debate that's far from over. And if you want more breakdowns of the biggest, most explosive Trump moments, don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, there's plenty more where this came from.